Good morning. I'm here just waiting for some people to join, so we'll give it a few minutes. But good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Badass Dang. Oh, good morning, Tammy. Good morning, my Renaissance grandma. Yeah, good, exercising. The StreamYard chat's a bit delayed. It's not as fast as the YouTube, but yeah, get your exercise on. I walked around the garden for a little bit. Just got my water and some turmeric inside, so whatever is in that some freezer you can buy from the store that has like turmeric and ginger and some special things to help with your immune system. So you dissolve it in water and then you just drink it down. But good morning. I'm gonna start shortly. A few little bits and bobs to talk about. Lots going on in the news. Good morning, Krubby the Beagle. Okay, so about 7 of us here. So how's everybody doing this morning? It's long weekend. So it's exciting. Let me turn down this light. It's blinding me in my eye. Sorry, 1 second. My goodness, it's like, yeah, that was a bit too bright. I'm just trying to see the difference on, okay, that's too yellow. That one's not too bad. Okay. Good morning, Lashes. So how's everybody doing this morning? A few things to talk about. We'll just get right into it. What's going on in the news? So the first thing that's going on, and Lashes did a video on this topic. I'm just gonna, piggyback and encourage you guys to check it out. There's quite a few videos on. I'm just gonna change the screen, leave the screen. Bank of America's no down payment program for minority communities. What that's about, what that entails. Good morning, Soul Good Gardener. Good morning. I think I got everybody now. Yeah, good morning to you. For those who don't know, you can type in hashtag urban and that will drop your link in the chat. Good morning, Creating with Kita. You just type in hashtag urban and that will drop your link. So just do it throughout the chat. Nightbot will drop the link. He'll drop some announcements. Thank you to all of you who have been supporting the channel with the Buy Me a Coffee. Greatly appreciated. It's helping to get supplies and equipment. I now have my own gimbal, so hopefully it works. Like my friends that I used to borrow, so I can just you have your own little equipment. So thank you so much for those of you who are supporting, and the link is going to be dropped in the chat by Nightbot. Also, I'm on Instagram, so you can check me out there. There's more photographs of the garden because I don't have a community tab yet on this platform, but it's coming. Thank you for all subscribers, old and new. I'm at 420-ish now, so it's growing slowly but surely. So the Bank of America, so Lashes did a video on that. So check out that video. Also, there are other people who've done videos. I will drop the link. So if throughout the discussion, if you want to comment about what we're talking about, then jump on. Again, public service announcement. Put your camera on while you're in the basement so I can see who you are. Make sure you're dressed appropriate. Make sure you have clothes on. Make sure you don't have to be on camera, but let me see you, especially if I have never seen you on my channel before. Make sure I can see you on the camera in the basement before I bring you up. Give me a second here. I'm using the wrong keyboard. Okay, so there's a link. So yeah, the Bank of America has a program. Also, Lashes did a live, I think last week, about the 5 tips to building wealth. And then Planter Garden was on there. Excellent information. Then Planter did a live, 2 lives, one about buying land and just stuff like that. And he was talking about in one live about, people who lost land because they didn't pay the property taxes. So I was talking, and it's just like there's a lot of negativity in the chats and people's commenting. Nothing in this world is easy. Nothing in this world is a fly by night thing. But if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to learn, you can succeed. And a lot of people have built wealth with real estate, with land acquisitions, with whatever avenue they've chosen. But real estate does work. So I wanted us to address more of the negativity, and just discuss as a group, you know, number one, why are people so negative? Maybe they've lost properties. Maybe they've had things repossessed or reclaimed from the bank. I don't know. There could be a myriad of reasons, but people only ever tell you half the story, if it's even half. Sometimes it's a quarter of the story. If most people are benefiting from real estate, then maybe you went in over your head as an individual. Maybe you over leveraged yourself. Maybe you didn't do enough homework or research. Maybe you didn't ask the right questions. Maybe you didn't pay for sound advice from a professional who could help you through the process. I don't know the reasons. I'm just discussing what it could have been, because I'm seeing a lot of negative, but not that it's not true. There are some negative sides to everything. So it's not that it's not true, but why is your mindset so negative? Why are you almost deterring other people from investing in real estate is what I want to talk about. Um, Let me see what Creating with Kita is saying. I am a homeowner and I enjoy it. My first thing is people don't pay attention to the inspections. Yes, that is true. And everything has a negative. So I'm not talking about you particularly, but I know people who've had inspections. And hey, Carbon Q, I see you in the. Oh, okay. See, the chat is lagging in Streamyard. For instance, there's a positive and negative to everything in this life. You must get a inspection. I had an inspection for my home, and I know people who have inspections. Very true. But there are people who are very crafty, and inspectors cannot go behind the walls. So I know a family who had an inspection. The family knew that there was a leak. The homeowner at the time knew there was a leak. He re-drywalled the area so that all that water damage wasn't visible. The house was sold. The new family ended up with a whole leaky basement and a whole mold problem, and had to pay for the repairs. So yes, you do need a home inspector, a proper inspector to check, what they can, but in reality, they cannot go behind the walls. Good morning, Psalms 146, or Psalm, not Psalms. We always pluralize everything in the Caribbean. But never skip the inspection, because that can save you and prevent some failures. I had an inspection at one time. So again, negative things can happen, but don't deter people from real estate. I went and had an inspection, and I went back to the property to take a second look, and it was raining, and there was some water coming in. So we could clearly see that there were some cracks in the foundation and stuff that was not visible during a sunny day. So even going back to a property more than one time is a good practice. Don't just, let me see here what Lashes is saying. And if you want to come up, guys, by all means, again, make sure you're in the basement, your camera is on so I can see you, especially if you haven't been up here before, because there are people in these streets. For instance, they'll put their name as Lashes Journey and take her photograph. And when you bring them up, it's not Lashes. So that's why people are asking for you to camera up in the basement, so we can see who it is before we let you up. So just if you're wondering, a lot of people don't want to pay for inspections. Okay, so that statement is exactly true. People don't want to pay for certain things. If you're gonna buy a property, a house or just land, you have to buy within your means. And in your means including the purchase price, inspections, appraisals, legal fees, closing fees, and any other fees I can't even remember, depending on your state, your country. There's all kind of fees, property taxes. You have to budget all of that into your expense. And if you can't afford to carry the property on your own income and you're relying on tenants, but if the tenants, let's say, don't pay, you can't afford, good morning, Cottonwood. If you can't afford to pay that house on your own, then you're probably shopping outside of your budget. That's my opinion. Okay, no problem. Yeah, put the baby to sleep. Um, so I'm just talking about some other negativity. So people were saying stuff like, I don't know, just saying stuff. I'm not going to single anybody out, but you're going to only excel as far as your mindset. There's negatives. We all have a horrible story. We all have somebody who has a horrible story about real estate, but there's still one lady I know. Let me drink some of my water. My goodness. And if you have any stories you want to share, you can either come up or you can type it. And again, type hashtag urban if you want to drop your link. Don't do it at the same time. I'll space it out throughout the chat so Nightbot doesn't get confused. And only 3 emojis per comment because Nightbot doesn't like more than 3 emojis. So I know a lady who had a very negative experience with a tenant, and she left the property vacant for 1 year. She was in a position to afford to pay the mortgage and stuff on her own, but it was such a horrible experience. She needed it 1 year to recover from that. So, but she didn't give up. She has changed her approach, and she has a better experience now. So, if you have a bad experience with a tenant, does that mean you stop real estate? There's good and bad in everybody. And if you're consistently getting bad tenants, then maybe you're the problem as a landlord. You're not doing screening properly. My real estate agent, she was fantastic. She was like a second mother in terms of, my aunt was my agent. She passed away, and then this lady became my agent. And you pick tenants based on 2 things. And again, this is her wording. Do they look good on paper? And when you meet them and interact with them, are you getting any red flags? And you're not just asking them questions about income and rentability. You're asking them just questions about them as people. And if you're good at reading people, if not, then you bring a friend. So she came to our first screening of potential tenants, and right away, and my sister is good at reading people. And we picked, if I miss anybody, guys, if I didn't say good morning, I don't know if I don't think I missed anybody, but she's good at reading people. And going through the tenant process, picking tenants, I've been there with friends to help pick tenants as well. You bring people that can read people. And just because somebody can pay their rent and they have a good income does not mean they're going to be a good tenant. And what do I mean? Personality, difficulty, they won't lift a finger. The landlord must do everything, even though they can do it themselves. Just nagging, annoying, just a thorn in your side. So these particular tenants, and yes, I am in real estate. I do have things going on. I don't talk about it on this platform, but I do have things going on. And I have learned a lot, but I've never lost money and I've never had to go out of pocket. Thank God, to date. But I've had some difficulties, and tenants can be disrespectful, rude, lazy, and nasty. And when I met these potential tenants, my sister says, yeah, they're going to be nasty. And so said, so done. They are very nasty. And the one thing that I can give advice to is this. I'm just checking on my phone, making sure it's streaming okay. It's a bit laggy, but it's not too bad as before. This is a couple of things I'm going to say. Whatever you're responsible for as a tenant, you're responsible for. It doesn't matter if they say that they're going to do it. If they don't do it, you're legally responsible. So for instance, shoveling the snow and salting here in the cold climate. They could sign whatever addendum to the lease. Good morning, Life with Marlene. But if you have someone who falls down and injures themselves, they're suing you as the property owner. They're not suing the tenant. You can after now sue the tenant for not fulfilling their obligations if you have it in writing with them, but you're the ultimate responsible party. So back to what somebody said, I think Lashes, if you're trying to nickel and dime everything and save money, it's not going to work. So you need to be realistic. So if I'm in a cold climate, so shoveling and salting is an issue here, and property maintenance. If you know based on your instincts, good morning, Gina, that people aren't going to, you have to assume that they're not going to do it. So your rent needs to be at a rate accordingly that's going to cover you paying out for mowing the lawn, weeding, shoveling, and salting, flat out. I've been in this game long enough to know that you have to assume that they're not going to do it. I have received a citation from the city that the weeds were too high. They're about 3-4 feet. I'm not arguing with people, and you go and you clean it up. They're supposed to clean it up, but they're not. I can write them up, but I'm not going to bother. So what I started doing was the first two years I wasn't raising the rent. Now, like clockwork, every year the rent's going up. 12 months on the dot. I have my paper already filled out to send to them in person this month. Or hey, good morning, Black Guns and Gardens. To give them the rental increase. And during COVID, sorry, I can't say that word. During the pandemic, rental increases weren't allowed here because obvious reasons. People didn't have a job. So I didn't raise the rent. Then the pandemic hit, and I missed an opportunity. Why else should you raise the rent as a landlord? And those of you who are not might say, oh, that's so wicked, you're raising the rent. If you don't keep raising the rent, you're not going to be keeping up with inflation. And you need to keep up with inflation because things cost money. Things that you're responsible for as a landlord costs money, especially if you're including certain utilities, like you include water. Oh, badass. Who's going to answer that question? Also, so I'm just talking about negative things that are negative, things that you hear from people that turn off others from getting into real estate. I've talked to many different people, and the one constant is if you're going to have a hands-off approach, you're going to get a lot more negativity because you need to be present. If you're not inspecting your property, you have a right. I'm speaking from Canadian standards that may not be valid in your state. So do your own research. Again, this is not legal advice, financial advice, health advice, nutrition advice, nothing of the sort. Talk to a professional about anything that we're discussing today and check with your municipal, your city, your bylaws, check with your local real estate agents. This is just a conversation and a testimony. I'm not giving any kind of professional advice. That's the disclaimer. What was I saying now? So yeah, if you're going to be hands off, you're going to get what you get. So you have a right to inspect your property as many times as you want. So if you want to schedule a inspection with your tenant every 3 months, every 6 months, you go and inspect your property. And I don't mean just go and look. You have to have them move stuff because a lot of people have cluttered and accoutrements and all kind of pack up. You want to see the electrical outlets. You want to see the appliances that they're working. I have a thing to check that the current is flowing through each of the outlets. You flush the toilets to make sure that the pressure is good. The sinks. Hey, Cassandra, while you're inspecting, every 3 times a year, exactly, Carbon Q. And there's a reason for that because they must have learned. You put Drano down the pipes. Now, Drano's not good for your pipes, so this is not plumbing advice again, but because you don't know how the tenants are living, what they're dumping down the drains. And I had to get the main drain cleared, and it was clogged. The plumber was there, came back twice to clear the drain. You don't know what people are dumping down the drain, and that will cost you money. I had a tenant literally burn one of the rental properties to the ground. What? After I told her I was not going to renew her lease. Wow, that is psychotic. So, wow, that's, and that goes to another point that Black Guns has just mentioned. Some people aren't right in they're not operating on all cylinders, I think is what people say. They're short of a dozen. And when you're dealing with that, it's very frustrating, and it can financially ruin you. So, for instance, I don't know, Black Guns, how your insurance handled that. Your insurance, because I hope they're in jail. Exactly. I hope they're in jail. That's arson. That's vandalism and blah, 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 blah. But that being said, how much does your insurance cover? What's the deductible? Did you have the proper insurance for tenants? Did your tenant have tenant insurance to cover the damage to their properties and their belongings? These are all things that, people have had negative experiences in. And instead of telling the truth about the incident, oh, don't go into real estate. Don't, they're just very negative. People gain wealth from real estate. We've seen it time and time again. And also a way to build generational wealth, because you can leave those properties to your children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews. If you don't have children, you can keep that to build generational wealth, and they don't have to start from the bottom. Let me see here. She thought she could able to collect from her rental. You see? So that's another point. So because she did arson, I bet you her insurance didn't cover the damage for her belongings. Serves her right. But also, when you have tenants, you need to indicate in your lease. What we do here is you need to have tenant insurance. One person didn't understand what that meant, and we told them, they were a student, your parents can get a rider on their policy to cover your belongings. But if anything leaks, good morning, Digging for Help. If anything leaks, if anything happens, your laptop, your computer, that's your responsibility. That's not mine as a landlord. So when you're new to real estate, part of the problem is this as well. I have an example for everything. I talk to a lot of people. There is a couple, lovely couple. They did something. It wasn't a mistake, but it wasn't wise. It wasn't wise. They had a mentor mentoring them into this real estate game. And we gave them a copy of our lease. Somebody else gave them a copy of their lease. And we communicated things that we've experienced that they need to make sure are in the lease, like the shoveling, the salting. Your lease has to be a thorough document, not just the standard. If you want them to keep the front entrance free of clutter and debris, if you want to say no smoking inside there, no vaping, and itemize, no cannabis, whether they have a medical condition or not, please do that outside. You need to write everything in the lease, because if it's not in that document, when you have any disputes or any court proceedings, they're going to look at that document. So you need to make it thorough. Spend the time to make the appendices, the addendums, whatever you need to add, put that in there. All your expectations, what they're responsible for, what you're responsible for. And they went off because they got excited. They got their first property. They got hype, and they went off, and they had a real estate agent. I don't care if you have a real estate agent, a lawyer, you need to read over those documents yourself. And the agent made an incorrect tick on one of the boxes. And the tick was either utilities included or not included. I do not include utilities, because when people are not paying for their own hydro, they will plug in every heater, they're just burning stuff because you're paying for it. She didn't check the document, and then those tenants were using and abusing, and they weren't making money, they were losing money. I had to be going over whenever I was in the area, because I have my property near them, and taking pictures and videos of how the place was being kept and all the bad behavior, so they could add that to their case file to take them to court. Good morning, African Dreaming. So what I'm trying to say is, read over your documents. If you're new and you have a friend or someone who's very good at this stuff, have them read over the documents. When you never sign the lease first as a landlord. The tenant should sign the lease first. You read it over one last time to make sure there's nothing that was done in error. Because if something was done in error, you can tell the tenant, oh, there was a spelling mistake, or there was the wrong thing was ticked off, and reprint out the lease and get them to sign it again, and then you sign it, because it's not binding yet. But if you're going to start signing stuff before you read it over, so read it over before it's given to the tenant, multiple times. When they sign it, you read it over again. Because had she read it, she would have caught that the utilities were included, and she could have corrected that, got them to re-sign it, and then she signed it. So that's, hey Planter. So yeah, so if you go, I'm going off of what Planter and Lashes was talking about for the last week and a bit, real estate, buying land, and so forth. And in the comments, I saw some negativity. So I'm trying to address the negativity because there's always somebody who has a negative story. Let's address, hey, Mrs. Queen, let's address the negativity because this is part of the problem. We're not addressing it, and then people are deterring people. Let me just have some water. 1 second. I kind of feel bad for my mom's landlord. Back in 2000, the rent was only $500. And in the contract, it will only raise $10 per year. It's expensive for my mom now, but rent doesn't keep up with inflation. Correct. You know, um, and there are programs that offer subsidies to tenants. There are ways that you can work with tenants. Good morning, Digging for Help. Good morning, African. And I think I have everybody. Good morning. Yeah, washing laundry every day. That's how people make you broke. That's how tenants get back at you as a landlord. Now, kind of going into general topics, I dropped the link again. Make sure your rent is at market rent from the get-go. Don't you There's things that you can do. So for instance, you have to be able to read and read with understanding. Some of us think we can read with understanding, but we really don't. That's how they get you. They, who is they? We always have this word they. The city, the province, whatever. The landlord tenant board that we have here. You need to read what your requirements are and what your responsibilities are. You need to understand your rights to go into the property. You must give them 24 hours notice. If you don't have good people skills, then maybe you should have somebody who's managing the property for you. That's also an expense, but that's also a write-off. So you have to take the good with the bad. If you can't handle the stress, if you have a stressful job and don't want to deal with tenants, then you can hire somebody who can manage all of that for you. But if you don't know how to speak to people and to not be emotional, that may make your relationship with the tenant more difficult. You schedule an appointment to visit the property. They know it's out of your way. At the last minute, they cancel. Oh, something came up. You know nothing came up, especially when they've done it 2 and 3 and 4 times. Not a problem. You put that gas expense as a business expense and you write it off. If they made you go there 3 times and waste your time, you document all of your stuff as business expenses. There's a way to do things. Get a professional accountant. Don't hire the Joe Blow who does it in the garage of the apartment building down the way in the dark. They may be good at what they do, but hire a professional, please. If you're not willing to spend some money on extra things that are not included in quote unquote the purchase price of the property, that's where you have problems. You need to have a slush fund. So Good Gardener saying, my home has doubled in value after only 4 years from the time we had it built. Just imagine what the next 4 years will generate. Correct. Exactly. People are sharing the testimony because it's working for them. And especially if you're, in a pair where you're working together, you can make money. And money is not just cash. Money is the value of the house that's going up. So, when you're in these chats and you're seeing negativity, just, don't be rude, but just say, there's other sides to the story. There's other factors that, hey, good morning, cats out walking but love mowing. You have to Planter was talking about income tax, and a lot of people in his circle, they get a good amount of money for their return, like 5,000, 10,000. If you have children and you have other things, they get back a good chunk, and then they're going to go buy we're laughing handbag and shoes and stuff that's not going to even bring you any value. And he had to tell people about, no, like buy some land. So yes, property manager. I don't have a manager because I'm cheap, but I do have good skills, professional skills, and I have people that can help. But if I get to a stage where it's just too busy and too much, I will hire a property manager. And you can pick and choose what they manage. They can manage the dealings with the tenant, but you deal with the actual maintenance of the property, changing the furnace filters, changing this, and let me see what he's saying here. I'm still digging, but I'm getting there. I think he's talking to somebody. So one of the comments that was mentioned in either Lashes or Planter Gardens Live, I can't remember, but somewhere in there. Oh, that because planters in Georgia, oh, you can only get land in Georgia. This is only going to work in the outskirts. What's wrong with that? That's kind of understood. I cannot afford a house in Toronto, like the city of Toronto, the main city. Houses that were worth nothing are over $1 million, $2 million just for the purchase price, plus property taxes, and you still have to do maintenance. And good morning, Teresa. Okay, I think I got everybody. If you guys don't know, #urban will drop your link. So just type #urban throughout the chat to drop your link. I did drop the link for the StreamYard. Let me tag it to the top. Oh, no, I'll print it again. If you want to just come in and comment on some of the conversation. But the bulk of the conversation will be just about real estate and investing, some current events, and just, the importance of hold on. I got to pin it. I think I got to pin it through the, hold on a second here. The YouTube app, not the, give me a second. I'm watching it on YouTube, but yeah, #urban will drop your link. So somebody just did that. Okay, pin message. Okay, it should be pinned now. Okay, there it is. So you guys want to come up? It stands to reason. It's kind of common sense. So saying that, oh, you got to buy in the outskirts. Duh. No disrespect, but duh. The major cities, people who already have property there bought them earlier on when they were cheaper, and now they're benefiting from the high prices. So more likely than not, you're not going to be able to afford house or land in the major cities. You're going to have to look outskirts. And sometimes that means out of state, out of province. A lot of people now have moved to other provinces because the jobs are better there and there's a better opportunity to buy land or house. I'm laying sod and having a few beers and listening. Okay, good for you. That's good. I need some sod in the animals dig up my lawn. So I'm just talking about the negative comments. It stands to reason. Why would you want to buy a house in the major city that's already like gone up so high? Oh, you're from Toronto, living in Quebec? Yeah, the rent in Toronto is insane. So a lot of people have moved since Teresa, Toronto. They're moving to Barrie, they're moving to Hamilton, Burlington. I'm hearing Bradford is high on the list of rentals. Shelburne, if you know Toronto, these are an hour outside, 2 hours outside, and people are driving to and from work because they can afford homes on brand new homes and or rent on the outskirts. Okay, take care. Life with Marlene. I think that means you're leaving. All right, take care. Good morning, Cassandra. I think I got you already. And I think, hold on. Queen has a comment down there, but I think she had a comment up top too. I'm not sure if I missed it. Yeah, okay, hold on. So Mrs. Queen had a comment. I'm paying down my house so fast, they told me I can get rid of the second insurance that's on the house. I have it built in 2015. Okay. And then I'm going to go down to her other comment. You are not cheap, you're frugal. Yeah. Oh, well, it depends who you ask. So anybody else who has some examples of negative comments or negative things people are saying to deter people from real estate. Because even currently I'm having some issues, but I'll get to that after. I am big on biweekly payments and making sure my extra payments go correct. Your extra must go onto your principal, which I do make $200 extra each month to the principal only. Correct. Because I was doing something and it was not going on to the principal. You have to be willing to read your documents as a homeowner, Check your statements, your bank statements, check where your money is going. Read through your mortgage documents and see some of these prints. Some of them have you can only put down an extra 20,000 per year on the principal, and find out about the penalties for breaking your mortgage. Why would you want to break your mortgage? There are instances when it may be advantageous to break your mortgage, depending on the situation, and go with another company. And sometimes the other companies are willing to pay the penalty for you because they want your business. So nothing is just black and white and cookie cutter. There are caveats and nuances to this real estate thing. But when people talk negatively, it's because they haven't done enough research or they don't know. You have to go into everything knowing the worst case scenario. So Black Guns mentioned that somebody burned down their house. That is one of the worst case scenarios. I have to figure out, if I buy this property and the tsunami comes through, a huge flood comes through, how much is it going to cost me to get that house or property back up to standard? Number one, is my insurance going to cover it? Insurance is not cheap. If you're going to get the basic policy, it is cheap. If you want better coverage, you got to pay for it. If you're nickeling and diming, that's what's going to cost you more in the end. Let me see what this person's saying. Can't stop walking. I'm part of a land trust, 140 acres that young folks want to sell. But it had been in the family since slavery days. And my vote is no, let's keep the land. And that's also a good point. When you're in partnership with people and you're not on the same page or want the same things, that's also an issue. But sometimes you need to go into partnership with people to get ahead. I had to go into partnership with people, not just random people, my sibling, people I trust, to get ahead, because your dollar can go further when you can combine it with somebody. Some people don't want to, they think that you have to be friends. You don't have to be friends and like people. You have to be of the same mind to get ahead. And once you have a good lawyer to draft up all the proper documentation, then you're okay. But if people are making deals and not paying for proper legal counsel and proper legal documents, then what do you expect? You can't complain about it and say stuff when you didn't do what you're supposed to be doing. Like, let's be honest. A lot of people I'm seeing saying a lot of negative stuff, but do your proper homework, your due diligence. You need to have a good lawyer and you need to have a good accountant. You need to have a good handy person, a plumber. Good morning, Erica, my fly family. You need to have these things, and things are going to cost you money. Planter Garden, if he's still here, I don't know if you want to come up. He mentioned that people buy some cheap materials. You can't have a rental property with laminate counters and think that when the people then move out, you're going to have the counters looking nice and brand new. You're going to have stains, burn marks, the water damage. You get what you pay for. So if you want to have a property that you can just paint and then get the new tenants right back in, you need to pay for good quality finishes. You can't be, buying cheap fixtures, because people are not going to care for it the way that you're going to care for it, because it's not their home. It's just where they live. And that's the thing. And you don't treat your properties like your forever home. Now, what else is negative about people with real estate? Some people mentioned in the chats they don't want to move out of state or out of province. You don't have to move. You can buy property in other states and other provinces, other counties, whatever they're called, where you are, and not move. You can still live where you're living. That's where you can hire the property manager. That's when you can hire a real estate agent, or that's when you can lease it to somebody who's going to be doing Airbnbs or short-term rentals. So they're paying you a monthly lease, but they themselves are subletting it. Nothing is written in stone. There's so many options and variables in this game. But when you have a negative mindset and you're closed-minded, that's why people aren't sharing their information with you. And then when people share information, like on the lives I've mentioned, take care, Soga Gardner. Thanks for stopping by. When people are in the chat and then talking negative and basically saying that we're talking foolishness or we don't know what we're talking about, but we mean well. No, we do know what we're talking about. He who hath an ear, let them hear. You need to start reading the fine print in documents, finding out the laws in your state or your province and what people's rights are. Currently, in most cities, you'll see that there's a lot of fight against Airbnbs. Why is that? There's several reasons why. The government wants to provide affordable housing, and they're not providing affordable housing. So they're making it the job or the responsibility of landlords. Why would I want to provide affordable housing? She said goodbye. Why would I want to provide affordable housing? I'm not running a charity. Oh, that's so rude. The reason why I'm being kind of rude is this. When it comes down to it, the tenants have more rights than you. If the tenant decides to stop paying the rent, it takes months and almost a year to get them out. No matter what you do as a landlord, the landlord-tenant board always seems to take the side of the tenant. So why would landlords want to provide affordable housing? So now they're coming against the cities and municipal governments against Airbnbs. And in some cities, they say rentals must be over 30 days. So they don't want that changeover 3 days, 2 days, whatever. That makes sense because some neighborhoods, that's not suitable to have all this turnover. If it's a family neighborhood, I understand both sides. But you can't tell me what to do with a property that I'm paying for and paying taxes on. You can't tell me who I'm going to rent to as the government, especially when you don't back me up when that tenant burns down the property, damages the property, uses it for a drug house, that kind of stuff. There's reasons why people are moving towards Airbnbs and short-term rentals. There's reasons for that. But now the cities are coming against it. And then, because it's bringing down the neighborhood. In some cases, yes, do your homework. In some cases, yes. In some cases, no. It's very political. And do you know that recently now that people have to pay taxes through the Airbnb platforms? They have to register with the city for this Airbnb. There's a lot of things that are coming into place that are tying up the hands of homeowners. This is why people do not want to provide short-term rent. They want to provide short-term and not renters. You can buy property in other countries that will become, and yeah, like Costa Rica. Correct. We have in Jamaica, same thing. So don't listen to people who aren't showing what they're doing or showing success. If you want to be successful, then you put yourself in the company of successful people and you listen to them when they speak. You listen to their tips. You ask questions and you ask multiple people. Yeah, her parents did that. Buy in other countries. There's always a lot of negative. Okay, hey Planter, let me bring you up. Hey Planter Garden.
Hey, how you doing, Urban Garden? What's going on?
I'm very good. I'm talking because we hear people in the chat are talking. We're talking negative when you're talking about the real estate. So I was talking to Lashes about it. So we're just bringing it up today because people don't want to listen. They don't want to hear.
You know what? You're right, because Lashes had a live the other day, and I come in and I was talking some valuable information.
Correct.
That I see work for so many people.
Yep.
And I remember somebody was in the chat and they saying there was, but I ignore them because I'm not going to make one person keep the message from spreading.
Correct.
Because I've seen a lot of people transfer from nothing to something in these forms. So I'm sharing this information that people can, whoever wanna grab from it and learn from it and apply it and see if it could work for them, because it really works.
It does work. And I saw the comments because I was saying to myself, like, Planter's giving some good information. And then I addressed something in the chat. Like, if you don't want to hear or you don't appreciate it, just don't say nothing at all. But don't like dog the person because it didn't work for you. Because that, like, hold on, let me bring up Lashes. Because it didn't work for them. And the reason why people need to take heed, and this is why. For instance, you, Lashes and Planter Garden, are immigrants to the US of A. And they have come to this country and they have used this information and they have benefited and gained something. So if they're telling you this information, it works. If it didn't work for you, maybe you didn't do it the right way or you didn't get the right, go through the right channels. But the information is accurate and it does work. And the government now, as you guys can see, the Bank of America is all over the news, are now trying to give people of minorities no down payment, no minimum credit score. Why? Because people need to have some home ownership. It's very important. So I was taken aback when I watched that live. Well, I was in the live, and I'm like, Planters dropping some gems, and the people them just in the chat just missing. They're looking at the weeds and missing the point. They're just staring at the weeds and the dandelions and not looking at the bigger picture. And the negative things I was saying, let's talk about the negativity. Yes, you do have to buy land and houses outside of the city. You can't expect to buy in the city for the cheaper rates. It doesn't make no sense. I'm in Canada. That's the same over here. I cannot buy in the big city. I have to buy outside. It stands to reason. So why are you bringing it up as a point? And then people get caught up with the negative talk. No, 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 no. We need to tell them the information. If you want to hear, go ahead. If not, but don't trash talk people who are telling you it's working. There are some negative things that come with it, yes, but it works. So you told people in your circle to stop spending their tax return on clothes and shoes and all them foolishness and to buy land. Are those people happy now or sad, Planter?
Well, well, Urban, you'll be surprised how people has transformed their life with this method, because these are people who used to buy bags for $3,500 and jeans pants for $1,000, trying to look the best, trying to impress everyone. No, these people have properties. There's properties these people buy for $10,000, value over $400,000 today. So these people is very happy right now because their life has changed.
Correct.
Many of them move out the city and move out and grab these deals because the deals them was there. And now today, because of the value has been rising so rapidly, these people asset turn into millions.
Correct.
You check what I'm saying?
Yep.
From zero, from a tax fund return, turn into their assets, not their cash. Not the cash, the asset. Turn into millions now. 1.5, 2 million. People is thanking me today. So I'm willing to share this information because I know it works. Sometimes we got to step out the comfort zone for a little. Because you know what, Urban? This is what the investors do. The investors go in the hoods, buy out the properties. They don't live in the hoods, you know. They don't live in the hoods.
New York.
They go in the hoods and buy the property.
Regentrification. They regentrify the neighborhood, and then all the rich people move in, and all the poor people have to go somewhere else. And the reason I want to talk about this is also this. On Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday, Carbon Q had an excellent live talking about the water issue in Jacksonville, Mississippi. And you may say, what does it have to do with water? It has to do with this. When you're financially stable and independent, you have more options. You don't have to stay where they put you or stay in a dangerous, unhealthy situation. When you have your money working for you, you can move, you can relocate, you have other options. And because I'm making an assumption, Mark, you, why have they been there for 2+ years with this water crisis that's only now been deemed a crisis now? Because a lot of these people do not have financial independence or freedom. I was sitting back and thinking, if you're a tenant, if you're a renter, you can pick up and move at any time. So why are these people still there? I don't know, but there's a reason. And we need to figure that out, because if I'm a renter, I can go find rent apartment somewhere else, in another town. There's no companies, there's no jobs. Something is going on there because there's no water. Why are they still there? Then they're expected to pay their water bill and all their bills same way. If they don't pay the bills, then it goes on to their credit. Like it's a revolving door. And it may be about water, but it's really also about economics. It's really about economics. Because if you have options, you don't have to stay in these quote unquote slum conditions. If I'm a homeowner in Jacksonville, most likely my property values are gone down, because no one's going to buy a home with the whole town have sewage water as water. Mind you, all water is sewage water, but that's another conversation. So what are your options? So now you have an asset that's now depreciating. It's not worth it. You can't sell it. You have to hold on to it and I guess wait for things to get better to improve the value. But this is what's happening in these streets. And we're talking about real estate. We're talking about these things for your betterment. People have more options when they have finances and assets in their back pocket. You have to understand most basic people associate success with pretty, and they miss out. Yep. They love the fancy clothes, a handbag, and the handbag can't feed them or their children. And tutus is out of style and they have to buy a new one again. You know, it's regentrification. Exactly. You need to put your money in different areas and different avenues, and real estate is no different. And there's nothing wrong with buying in another state or province like Georgia or wherever they have land for cheap, or and buy the land and hold on to it, pay the taxes, and wait till it goes up in value. And then people want to act like they don't know you have to pay taxes. I pay taxes here. If I don't pay the taxes, guess what? They're coming back. They're coming for their house and their land. Why are we acting like we don't know? Taxes are as a part of it, no matter where you go. All I hear is people saying, well, you could own the land, but if you don't pay the taxes, you lose it. So pay the taxes. Where's the difficulty in that? Pay the taxes. I can't afford it. Figure out something, because there's people in this world who know how to make money. They know how to make money. Let me see what Badass is saying here. Mississippi is one of the poorest states. Poor people don't care about credit. Okay, so I think you're talking about when I was saying about not paying the water bill and so forth. Yeah, they probably don't care about credit, but something has to be done. And part of solving the problem, and I know we discussed in that live a lot of great ideas and stuff, but a lot of the problems is also stemmed from economics. And you just said it's one of the poorest states. Why is it the poorest state? I know many people, we all have our own opinions, and nothing wrong with that. That's good. 2 hours from you. Okay. The one thing that I do want to discuss, not discuss, but just mention, we have to take care of ourselves. I 100% agree. You have to take care of yourself and your family and not be waiting for the government or whoever to come and help you. I definitely 110% agree with that statement. But we need to hold the government, or if it's the government or the governor, whatever you want to name it as, accountable. Because if I'm paying taxes and I'm paying my utility bills and I'm getting sewage water or no water at all, that's unacceptable. And we have to hold them accountable and to task. Because if we don't, it's just going to perpetuate to the next generation. I'm sure many of us would never think in 2022 that something like that would be going on in the United States of America. We would never think. Maybe you guys said no, it's regular because it's a poor state. Why are they a poor state? Why? I don't know why, but somebody needs to start looking into something because something not adding up. The milk is smelling kind of stank from over here. Something don't make no sense. Why did it take 2 years for it to be addressed, to be acknowledged as a problem, and also a disaster, or whatever they call emergency, a medical, whatever they called it, state of emergency? There needs to be people in positions of power and have influence, and usually it comes with financial influence, to make some of these changes. Let me see what Mrs. Queen is saying here. Usually it's people that are renting property and doesn't own property that talks like that. Yes, I ran across a few of them. No shade. No, not shade. You're telling the truth. We homeowners are well aware that we have to pay property taxes. So if that's their only argument, they may just be bitter. Exactly. But that's all I hear. Oh, if your grandparents and your ancestors have passed, like can't stop walking and love mowing, mentioned from slavery days. And if you guys can't figure out and come together and find a way to I think Planter must have jumped down, but I'll bring him, I mean his Wi-Fi. Um to pay the taxes, especially as a collective, then my point is something's wrong with you, not the government, because you should be able to find a way to pay the taxes. Has Lashes and Planter, has taxes ever been a deterrent for you to buy land or property?
No, it does not. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes. So it doesn't deter you.
No, it doesn't. Good morning, everyone. Morning, out urban planters. Good morning. Good morning, chat. Everybody doing today?
Morning,
No,
morning.
I never even think about taxes when I'm buying or insurance. I just don't think about that, like the negative stuff, because taxes and insurance, that's escrow into your mortgage. So those are stuff that I don't see, because I just pay my mortgage. It's in the escrow.
Yeah, it's all
Tax,
lumped in together. Hey, Smoke City.
insurance, everything. So, 1,000 is my mortgage, for instance. That's what I pay. I don't have to worry about the taxes over here and then
Yeah,
so you don't
but
even see it.
it's part of, to me, it's part of the cost of doing, quote unquote, doing business.
Hmm.
So I know we're Jamaican and Planter. I think it's from Antigua, or I can't remember. Um, Back home, we have to send money every year to pay the taxes to keep the land in the family. This has been going
Yeah,
on all of my life. So to hear people talking about taxes, what's the big deal? We paying taxes in Jamaica. We paying taxes in Canada. You paying taxes in the States. What taxes is everywhere? If you want to keep
exactly.
your land, you have to pay the taxes. What hey, Hudson, what's the problem?
And that too, when I just came here, my aunt used to tell me, she said, when I used to talk about buying a house way back in the years, she's like, don't buy a house. You can't own your home in America because you'll always have to pay, taxes. She was talking about the same thing. I'm glad I didn't listen.
Yeah, it's like we pay taxes in Jamaica. That's the first thing them want is
Hmm.
them tax roll money. So it doesn't matter. And the thing that I've heard here is a lot of
Hmm.
Caribbean people here are saving their money to go build house back home in their country, and
Yeah.
they're not buying house here, either America or Canada. So I'm talking about Canada, and I'm like, that's foolishness. Number one, you know why it's foolishness? If you save all your money in the bank, you don't know inflation eat off that money long time. So your $10,000 10 years
Yeah.
ago ain't $10,000 nowadays. It's not worth 10,000, even though
Worth
it says
nothing.
10,000. Second of all, if you buy a house here in Canada, when you go to retire and you sell that house now, you can go buy anything in Jamaica cash. You can buy 10 houses, you can buy an apartment building in Jamaica cash and go live your nice life down there. So your assets here will gain you more than just saving your money and go send
In
money
the
to go
back.
build a house back home.
Yes.
I'm like, it's
So true.
again, it's people's mentality. Badass is saying something here. One second. You have to know the history about the South. Well, I know some history. Back in the slavery days, Mississippi was one of the richest states due to the cotton. Yes, but no one's doing the cotton thing no more. And I'm from
Mhm.
what I understand, there's a lot of There's a lot of people in Mississippi who are wealthy. So there's other means that are going on to make money. I know there's a historical society that's trying to rebuild certain areas and make it back to what it was before. Um, but that doesn't negate the fact that people in 2022 need to find a way. And usually it's people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. They're tired of being impoverished. They're tired of being in a situation and they want to find something better. And I know the system is set up not to help you. I'm quite aware of that. And I've experienced that. So I'm not talking out of ignorance, but you have to find a way or find the right people that are going to help you because you cannot stay in that because you're not going to help yourself or your family. And look what's
Mm-mm.
happening. We're in
You,
2022 and go ahead, planters, if you want to cut in there.
you sorry for cut you. How about, you know what? Let me tell you what's really going on. And I seen this going on a lot. If you do not go to a college or you do not come out with a degree or you ain't a scientist or you don't have these belts, the knowledge you have does not value. They don't take you serious.
So
But
true.
but one thing they don't understand, the real secret of success, they will never teach you that. You
Never.
have to find that.
Amen.
So when the little guy come out and the little guy spit the knowledge that he see works, they believe it's foolishness.
Correct.
The information Lashos is giving is valuable information. She's
And she's
telling you
giving
where
it
she
free.
come from
Correct. And
and
she's giving
where
it for
she are
free.
today. But if
Yes.
you don't go to college, the information is not valuable. And that is what's crazy.
And Queen said earlier, Mrs. Queen said earlier, which is true. The people who are saying all this negative stuff, when you take a stock and start looking, they ain't got no pot to piss in. And I keep telling people that. Who are you taking your advice from? If they have something to show to back up what they're saying, that's the person I'm going to be listening to. Not the one who's talking the loudest and don't own property, no land, still wearing designer jeans, driving their fancy car, and don't have any assets. And when it comes down to it, they're no further ahead than when they first come to this country. There's some people been here 20 something years, nothing to show for nothing. That's not the people I'm going to be hanging around with because I can't be the same person over the last 20 years and have nothing to show for it.
I agree with you. You see, sometimes the crowd you are wrong could really mislead you, but at the same time, I'm not gonna blame the crowd. I gotta blame you as the individual.
Yes. Yes.
Because you gotta know what you want and what you're looking for. So you gotta find people with the same
Correct.
mindset of what you're looking for. They can help give you information, share information that can bring value to you. And then you
Yes.
apply these information. But like I now said, Urban, if you not have a college degree, if you do if don't have these things on your belt, your information is not valuable. But
Some
do you
some
learn
people,
these
yes.
information in
Yeah.
school? No, you don't.
Some
The
people, but
information to success.
I know people equate education to success, but I know better. I know people who don't have formal education and are more successful because they come from the school of real life and they have a high sense of they understand how the world works at an early age and they've chosen not to go through formal education, but they're very sharp. And people think the paper means something. The paper don't mean nothing. The paper shows a paper. But you and I both know different. Exactly. They don't value the information. And when they come around now and they want the information now that you were giving them years ago, but now I don't have time because I'm doing something different now and getting things done to get myself ready for retirement. I don't have the time to spend with them anymore. And now they're upset. But when I had the time, they didn't want to hear. it because it wasn't in the way that they wanted it.
I agree. I agree.
So
I
I have to,
just
I don't have the time to spend with them. And it's like if you did take heed, and what they people think is that everything is a bed of roses. And as I mentioned in the first part, nothing is a bed of roses. I've had some bad tenant, bad experiences. I found out that I was responsible for something that I didn't know, and it cost me money. And nothing is smooth, but it doesn't mean that it's not a good investment. It doesn't mean. It just means that I have to be more conscious of what I'm doing and why.
well, in investment, it's about losing and winning. So it's not gonna always go smooth, and people got to understand that too. There are
Yeah,
also gonna be ups and downs in investment, but that does not mean you got to give up. And get discouraged from invest. I believe investment is what's gonna take you over the to another level. All the rich
yeah,
people is investment. They invest their money and
correct.
become billionaire in their asset, not the
Yep.
cash. It's their asset.
Assets. Yes. There's
You
a
So true.
understand? They become billionaires off of investment, but we don't like to invest. We rather
no.
try to impress people in
Yeah.
how we dress.
Badass is talking about generational wealth. Exactly. That's what we're missing. The generational wealth. We some of us are getting
Mhm.
wealthy, but we gotta pass it down because other people's kids are getting a better start than our kids. And it's
True.
it's this is the problem. Most of us, myself included, are starting somewhat from scratch because your parents, your immigrants new to the country, and it's starting from scratch. Other people don't have that. They're starting from houses and land, and their parents and their families have money, and that's what we're missing. This generational wealth. Instead of us fighting about who's right and who's wrong, and oh no, you're right. No, how about we work together? And working together doesn't mean you have to work with your whole neighborhood. I work with 2 and 3 people because I couldn't do it on my own. I didn't have enough capital to do it on my own. And I started off with working with 2 and 3 people. And now we can branch off on our own in some cases. And some cases, we keep working together because you cannot do this thing by yourself. And in
So
turn,
true.
we are all benefiting. And people say, oh, you can't trust people. You can't this, you can't that. Yeah, you can't trust people. That's why you get a good lawyer and you get the paperwork done properly. So that when it comes down to it, if you two of you fall out, you can, go on your separate way and you each have your piece of the pie and you move on.
And
That's
a lot
that's
of people scared to take risk, and
yeah,
everything comes with risk.
it does. The amount of money most people, even on this chat, have lost. My
So
dad was
true.
talking about money he's lost over the years. He did something for $5,000, and back in those days, 5 grand was a lot of money. And the investment flop, and the thing didn't go good, and the money gone. But he
Yep.
kept trying. He kept trying because he didn't want to stay where he was. But that's the risk exactly that you take. But you have to
Exactly.
diversify. You cannot say, "Oh, get rich quick scheme," and those kind of
Hmm.
stuff. No, you
So
have
true.
to diversify. And right now, he he wasn't really he was into real estate, but he stopped because the people he was working with didn't want to continue. They wanted to do a buy and flip thing. He wanted to do buy and hold, where you rent it out. And that's what we're
Hmm.
doing with him now. You buy and you hold. People want to
Yeah.
do flip, flip, flip. I don't have the time to be doing flips. You have to have
Of
a
course.
good construction team and know how to renovate to start doing them flips. I may not have time for
Yeah.
that. So
Me neither.
I work with what I can work with. Maybe Planter does flips, but for me, you have to stay in the lane that you're good at. I'm good at buying and holding and renting it out because I don't have the manpower or the to do renovations. That's just the way it is. Find your
So true.
niche and stick to that within the real estate realm. Sometimes people buy a house and they house hack. Lashes has mentioned so much different things that you can do. You can buy your property,
So
buy a
true.
duplex, buy a triplex, and you have the other levels rented out and you live in your level for free.
Yeah, you still only put down 3%, 3.5% with the FHA loan, and they lend you it to get 4 units. To
Correct.
just live in a one part and then rent out the other three
Oh, there's a
units.
slight echo. Hold on. Let me just
Maybe mine.
hold on. Let me mute. Go ahead. Okay, it's probably
Yeah, can you hear
planter,
me?
so I'll mute him. No, I'll mute planter for a bit just because I think it's while you're talking. I think it's his cell phone. Um, exactly.
Okay.
And people, if you're gonna buy a house anyways, if you're buying your first home, when I bought my first home, I didn't go and I didn't shop with people who are nuffy nuffy and show off, show off. You shop with people who have common sense and know your vision. Number one, don't take people along the ride with you who don't have your vision because they're gonna suck you down. It happened to me too much, and I realized I stopped taking these people with me, and I went shopping with people who had my vision. I want to buy my first home, but I don't want to be house poor. I want something that has rental income potential. Hey, Marlon, and that's what I looked for. My real estate agent made sure that he was finding something in that area that met that requirement because I had enough sense to
Hmm.
know, yes, I have a house, but I don't want to be responsible for my income paying the entire mortgage. Let me have a house hacking kind of thing. That's what I did. And it has worked for me because look at this pandemic and all the things that's going on. That rental income has become very, very important to
Yeah.
paying, and same with you. You had lived with people, you live with people and they pay their rent and you live uncomfortable for a bit. People don't want to
Hmm.
be uncomfortable. But you don't have to be uncomfortable like I am. You can do what works for you. Let me read Badass comment. Have you all noticed every area that slaves from, fled for
Yes.
freedom are all still poverty stricken to this very day? Just think about it. Oh yes,
Hmm.
I was doing some research, Badass, this week about the 40 acres and about all of that stuff and what happened and that the land was given back to the like the system. Yeah, no argument with me. The system is corrupt. But we have to find a way to lift the community out of where it's at and for financial independence.
I wonder why
And
is it so?
I don't know. There we do
Hmm.
know the system. There's powers that be.
Hmm.
There's people, you know, I believe it's a conspiracy to some degree. I believe that our mindset is negative as well. There's layers to this. But I do if I own land in Jackson, Mississippi, or own homes, I think I don't know for sure, but I think people should make sure they keep them and keep them in good repair. Because if you're able, you have to be able to pivot. Anything in this life, if you don't know how to pivot and take the situation that's at your door and find a way to excel, there's always going to be something holding you down. I was thinking about the water crisis. So if I own property in Mississippi, um, Jacksonville to be exact, and the water is no good, no one's going to want to rent there. How much would it cost for me to get a filtration system in for the entire house or for particular rooms as a landlord? I don't know. I was thinking out loud to myself. Because maybe that would be beneficial to get better tenants and or to remain in my home as a homeowner and to keep the value as much when the value is going to go down regardless. So that if I want to sell the home, I can, there's a water filtration system in there, because these are some kind of the ways that people kind of push you out of a community so that because the land I'm sure has value there. I'm sure the land in Mississippi is rich. I'm sure that you can do a lot with that land. So why haven't they invested back in the infrastructure to fix the water? I don't know, but it's making me very curious. That's all I'm saying. My job here on my platform is to make you guys curious, to make you irritated, to make you angry, to start doing some more research and to start, having more dialogue. It's not my job to give you all the solutions or any solutions at all. It's my job to be a little prick in your side to get you to start, thinking and moving. That's my job. But if I had property in Jacksonville there must be a way, and there's still an opportunity to benefit some way, somehow. And if the people in that community can start thinking differently, I'm sure they can succeed. And no, it's not the government's job to fix your problems, but it sure as hell is someone's job, if I'm paying my property taxes, paying my rent, and paying my utility bills, to make sure that those things are working properly. And if they're not working properly, why? We can't keep saying it's not the government's job. That can't be the default. We can't always put the responsibility on the residents either. Like, there has to be a symbiotic relationship, because I'm telling you right now, if I'm paying my taxes, I'm paying my bills, and I'm living in a place that it's sewage water, I can't bathe, brush my teeth, I can't flush the toilet, then something needs to be changed up top, and it's not all my responsibility as a resident to fix these problems. Something needs to be addressed. We need to start holding some people to task. Let me see what Hudson is saying. 1 second here. People don't understand we don't have 100% to accomplish things. When we try to be a community, it's always a conflict that separates us. For sure. I don't necessarily believe, when I say community, that it's everybody. Half of us can't get along with our immediate family, so how can that be everybody? When I say community, I'll let that slide. I'm talking about
Okay.
your
Just a minute. I'll be in the chat, okay? I
no
forget I have
problem,
a 10
Velasquez.
o'clock
You want to come back up? Just
appointment.
come back up. No problem.
Yeah, but I'll be in the chat. I'll
Yes, we
come
don't
back
have
up
to
when I'm
agree
done.
100. Hold on, let me go back. So reparations have been paid. The plantations owners got land and cattle when they had. Yes, that was the reparations. People don't understand that the Bank of England paid the slave owners for their quote unquote property loss, which was the slaves. But I know history. I understand the importance of history and how it affects present day. But I don't want to go back into that unless we're gonna talk about dates and times and proper facts. So I don't want to really go there. Gina's saying this is a good conversation. I've been talking about buying property for years now and haven't pulled the trigger out of fear. I'm going to move forward. Yes, I did not pull the trigger until way later because of fear. My own fear and the fear of people's words. And I had to stop talking my dreams and my goals to particular people. Hey, Tori, I had to stop talking my dreams. So some of us need to stop talking and just saying your dreams. If you have a goal and you want to own property, you don't own your own home, and you want to own your own home, number one, you make an appointment with the bank and you find out what you need to do to own a home. I went to the bank and she did not run my credit because I wasn't going through an application process. The lady spent some time with me to tell me, because she had numbers in her head. She knew utilities, taxes, things that I didn't even think of because I was brand new, but I had a goal. And she went through my numbers on paper and she gave me the paper. And she said your debt ratio and all these terms that you're going to have to learn. So if you're brand new and don't know any of these terms, you make an appointment with your bank person, someone that you can talk to. Sometimes they're rude, sometimes they're condescending, sometimes they're whatever. Guess what? You don't care. You need to get the information. You figure out how to get out of debt, how to make you look better at the bank, how to qualify for a mortgage. She taught me how to know what I can qualify for and start shopping in that range. If the bank tells you you're qualified for $1 million, that don't mean you go and buy a $1 million house. That may mean you buy a $800,000, $700,000 house because you need that extra slush money for other expenses and other things. So you need to take people along with you that are with your vision and that they're rooting for you. That may be an elder, that may be your parent, your auntie. I'm coming down to the chat. I see your question there. I'm coming down. It may be your auntie, your whoever. You bring people who are going to be like-minded. That is your community. Not everybody. That's not community. I think we think it's everybody. No, it's a small nucleus in some situation, and you do what you have to do to meet that goal. That may mean you're not eating out, you're not going to the cinema, you're not driving up and down. Maybe you get rid of your car and you buy a bus pass or you buy a bicycle. And people may say stop about you, oh, you're so this. You do what you have to do to get to your goal. You have to put your focus on your goal. And some of the friends may fall by the wayside, but you're going to get new friends. You're going to get new people that are going to be alongside that vision. Do not focus on the friends that you have now. They cannot come with you. Some of your friends can't come with you. Oh, you're on a fishing trip. Oh, that's what I'm going to start doing, Starduster. Learning new skills, how to fish, how to feed myself. Thanks for popping in. You have to just focus on that. Planter, when you came to this country, did you come with goals and a vision and a dream? And who did you share that dream with?
Well, something I have learned from a little boy is sometimes you just got to have your dream and vision and just walk on them. Because sometimes the people you tell, the energy, the negativity can, if you're not strong enough, they will crush your dreams and you might be able to push forward. So I have learned as a little boy, once you have a plan, work on your plan and sift out, just like what you was now saying. You sift out the people. You don't just choose anybody. You sift out the people who could make your plan go through. Because not everybody designed for this. So you got to find these people and then you work with these people. But yes, when you come, you always come with a plan and a dream. Some people come and forget their plan and their dream. They just get lost along the way and distracted from what's their plan. Because it's not to say wasn't doing well at where I was. But when you see the vision on the TV, the television, the advertisement, oh yes, you got to come and see what's this about. So by coming here, you come down and you want to have a goal. You have to come with a goal, and I did come with a goal, and I proceed with the goal. Okay, like what you were saying a minute ago, is Mississippi where we have the flood.
Yeah, dirty water. Yeah.
You know what? I will, if I own property in that place, I will not sell it because those property will develop and turn into some valuables. This is
Exactly.
only to get you to for people to leave. Oh, I can't deal with this. And then another class of people gonna just step in, and then you can't believe how this place has turned over.
You see,
Sometimes we gotta see.
Planter, that's exactly what I'm thinking the agenda is. Because why would
Yeah,
they wait 2 years
sometimes,
and have people living like that for 2 years?
sometimes we gotta just not just look on the surface. Sometimes you gotta dig a little deep, scratch a little deep, because sometimes the next way how it's easy to get a class of people out of a neighborhood is by raising the tax. The tax bracket can kick a certain class of people out of a certain neighborhood and then a different class step in. Now, in a few
Mhm.
years after, you can't believe this was the place you left 2 years
Right.
ago.
And all of a sudden, all the businesses come back and all the developments and the box stores are all there. And you have all the infrastructure that's now all of a sudden the money's there for that. But it wasn't there for the other people.
Sometimes a lot of things, like I said, man, you can't look on the surface. You gotta dig under, and you gotta find a lot of stuff. It's not just what you're seeing. Sometimes it's not what you're seeing. What you're
No.
seeing sometimes is not even real. When people tell you what you're seeing is not real, sometimes you might ask yourself, what do you mean what I'm seeing is not real? Yeah, because a picture you seen.
Yeah.
You're not really seeing the real factor of what's going on. You just
Correct.
seeing what your eyes seeing, but there's a whole different thing behind what you seeing.
Correct. And people are, don't get me wrong. This is a very serious issue. That's not what I'm saying. Hear what I'm saying. That's a distraction tactic because when you, good morning, I'm Rock Just Living to D Macro, Gracery, Carry Mission, and anybody I missed, good morning to you as well. People, you have to remember, like when Carbon was doing the interview with the reporter, and we were like, I was like, 2 years. How come this thing is going on for 2 years? 2 years is the entire pandemic, never mind before. That's a long time. So why is it just now? Oh, state of emergency. You have to, because I'm sure people have been holding out there for a long time and they're not leaving, they're not moving, they're not. I'm sure those properties, those homes, the land is of importance to many, longer than two. I'm sure those things are of importance to people. Everybody, not everybody, a lot of people like to make things, black and white. Oh, it's because we're this. They don't care about us. That's true. Michael Jackson wasn't lying. They don't care about us. But stop looking at that lens. It's always, most times, something economic, something business, something money, something along those lines. And I'm sitting back and I'm watching. I don't know what I'm watching yet. I don't know, but I'm watching. I'm going to start digging into who the governor is, what he represents, what policies he stands behind, who is he connected to. And you start moving up the food chain and seeing the dots and who's connected to what and why, and backdoor deals and construction deals and development deals. And you start going through and start to see, oh, let me see what Carbon is saying. They went without water during the pandemic. When was your hands ever time you move them was a trend? How?
Hey, Urban, sorry for cutting you off, but I gotta go. Thanks for having me,
Oh,
okay?
no problem. Thank you for popping up, Planter. Take care.
All right, respect.
And I'm gonna go back up because I saw your comment, Carbon Q, earlier about tiny homes. I know a bit about tiny homes. It's something I am interested in. But there's a few things. I know over here, tiny homes are okay, but I think over here they're doing more of those oh sorry, okay, typo. Okay, I'll read it again. Um those homes that are made from containers, the trailers. And some of the cities aren't zoned for that. So tiny homes are a great thing. Tiny homes are wonderful. Um, Trailer parks are good too, but you have to know what you're getting into. So I'll speak for what I'm finding over here. And again, you guys have to do your own research for your own zoning. The zoning is a factor for tiny homes because tiny homes come in categories. There could be an actual house that's on grid that's just tiny. Sometimes it's a house that's off grid that's tiny, zoned differently. And there's also those container homes that are under the tiny home category. The zoning for over here is not readily zoned, but the cities are currently changing the zoning to allow for tiny homes in some of these scenarios. So if you have a house and you have a huge backyard, some cities are going to be allowing you to build what's called a bunkie, which is a tiny home in the backyard, separate building that is classified as a home that you'll be on the grid or maybe off grid, depending on how the zoning is written, water, plumbing, the whole shebang. They are now allowing that going forward because housing is so difficult to find. So you have the potential of keeping your home, building a bunkie at the back, either 1 story or 2 stories, and renting those out as income. And that's going to add value to your home. Tiny homes also, if you're talking about trailer parks, depending on where your finding, you can buy land. I did not buy it because you are part of a 30-person parcel and you own 1/30th of the land. So that didn't work for my situation that I'm looking. Because if you're going to be in a trailer home, you need to park it somewhere, have access to water, plumbing, the whole shebang. But tiny homes are a thing. Tiny homes are a wave of the future, and there's more than one way to implement or use a tiny home. So you can have a home by itself on a parcel of land. You can have multiple tiny homes on a parcel of land. People who are Airbnb like the tiny homes, especially when you're giving them a experience in a piece of land in the country, that country quiet setting with hiking and trails. There's a lot of options. But in terms of, I don't know if you're asking me about, the viability, very viable. Depending on where you are, very viable. I'm in a cold climate, so you can imagine, but it's still viable here. There's ways to make your plan work and just find out the zoning, the feasibility, if there's a builder, if you can buy a cookie cutter home and just install it, put it on grid, put it off grid. What does the city allow? But tiny homes are definitely viable. A lot of people are buying a tiny home and a piece of land, or just buying a home with no land and renting a piece of someone's land until they can buy their own land. But there's a lot of options out there, guys. Let me read back the comment because she said, when washing your hands, hold on, let me just go back up. When washing your hands every time you move them was okay. And back to what I was saying, when you have a dream, you need to tell your dream to a core group of people because not everybody's with your dream. And it's not that they hate you or don't like you. They just don't have your vision. They just don't have your dream. And if they're not helping you, there's a person that I speak to and she's negative. No matter what you tell her, no matter what example, no matter how much people succeed. Oh, the sky is falling. It's always something negative. Guess who I'm not telling my ideas to? I'll tell her after I've already implemented the idea because she does have good what ifs and good, devil advocates ideas. But she's negative. She can't help herself. She's just negative. She cannot. And the funny thing is that she's very successful, but she has a low tolerance for risk. She's very negative, but she's finally moving into some of the ideas that we've been talking about with her. She's moving into those ideas and she's benefiting. But everything that we're telling you is not pie in the sky. It does take work. There's negative aspects to it, but you do earn money and equity. And if you're talking about tenants, you can earn cash flow, but you have to make sure that you don't over leverage yourself and you can pay the mortgage if the tenants don't pay their rent. If you have to go to court and get them evicted and get the sheriff or whoever, the police to come and evict, and that whole process of getting somebody evicted, you have to be able to carry the property. And that's part of the issue with the pandemic that people had. I think it was in New York, or I think most states, they had a eviction moratorium or some kind of, and the bank wasn't taking a moratorium on the mortgage payments. So how can you take a moratorium on the rental payments? And then you want me to provide affordable housing as a landlord? You're asking too much. This is very wishy-washy. People have to pay their rent. People have to pay their bills because the landlords have to pay their bills. So let this be an example to you, because if people can't pay their bills, can you afford to carry that property on your own? Do you have other properties that are doing well in other cities that can compensate for you not getting paid at that property? These are things that you have to decide ahead of time. So when people are talking their negative talk, it's not that what they're saying is untrue, but they can only talk negatively because they're not willing to take the risks or do their homework. So don't let people in any chat, conversation, in person, in any forum, talk you out of things, because other people are making money and doing well. Everybody who has a portfolio. I talked to this man and he has multiple properties. I think he's over 15. an immigrant to this country, came here, and his kids are going to university, they're doing well, and he has about 15 properties, maybe more. And some of the properties are easy peasy. You don't remember that you own them. They carry themselves. It's no problem. Especially like condos and stuff. And then there's other properties that are just what we say crosses. There's always a problem. You have a lot of turnover with tenants. They don't want to pay their rent. And when they don't pay, they damage the property. They kick in doors, they damage, and it costs you money to repair things. But sometimes the good properties outweigh the bad because that cash from over there can pay for over here. Let me see here. Been there. Yes, you have to be very careful. Exactly. But there's good. And I think you had a comment earlier, Teresa. I saw it, but I didn't put it up. You were talking about your parents came to this country. I did want to see that, but sorry, yeah, there it is. I came to Canada when I was young child. My parents came with a vision. I had the immigrant experience. I was tough, or it was tough, I think, but I wish my kids could understand this. Exactly. Oops. Hold on. I left the window. What happened here? Okay, there it is. But yeah, there's people, there's negative in everything, guys. Just write your vision and your dream down. I'm for writing it down on a piece of paper so you can look back on it and you can hold yourself accountable. You don't have to hold anybody accountable but yourself. Write down your vision. If you're a homeowner and want extra properties to give to your children and to have rental income and to fund your retirement, write it down. If you're not a homeowner and you're renting right now, you write it down. I have a story of a lot of changes happening around my parents' home. And so I'm just looking at my phone here. And the neighbors are moving. A lot of people are moving. They're at that age. They're scaling down. And there is wisdom in scaling down because if you're too old to maintain your property and you have to pay for everything to be done, it can be very costly, and that's going to eat into your pension, into your retirement fund because you're no longer working. So in those cases, yeah, it makes sense to scale down and find something smaller. Some people who are elders are now renting out their basements, they're making apartments, they're spending some money, and they're renting out, 2 apartments in their basement to earn income so that the house is paying for itself. They don't have to go into their pension money. If the roof needs fixing, because a roof can cost between 5 and 10 grand depending on your home, they don't have to dip into and be wondering where the money's coming from. That's the new retirement, not just sitting in your house and paying all the bills. You're having rental income. So some people in the neighborhood didn't do that. So they're renting, they're selling. The neighbor on one side of my parents' home was a tenant for over 20 years. The owner died, and now the children are, selling the home. And they offered an offer on the house, a very fair offer. They didn't want it. The family felt that they could get a lot more for the home. The person, had a garage sale, sold their stuff, scaled down, and they moved to a home somewhere else. And that was difficult because your parents been living next to somebody for over 20 years. You have a good camaraderie, a good relationship. They're very helpful to your elderly parents when you know that people next door are looking out for them, and just a very good relationship. And now they're gone, and now you have new neighbors. But the moral of this particular story is this: the house just sold, and they did not get the big number that they were gonna get, and they did not even get the number that the person offered. They got below that. So you're renting for 20 plus years, and you pretty much paid the mortgage, and now you want to buy the home because you don't want to have to move at this stage and relocate. And they're like, no, we want the big dollars. And they stood their ground and they said, no, it's not worth that. And they were right. Like, they did their homework. It wasn't worth that. And so you've been renting for 20 years, and just like that, they just brush you out. Nothing wrong with renting. There's nothing wrong with being a tenant. But sometimes when you get to a different stage in life and you're comfortable, it's sometimes more advantageous to own something. So that particular couple, lovely couple, they are now grandparents. They're near their, grandchildren and all of that. And now they had to pick up and move. We're still in touch with them. We're still, check in. And they said we can come and pass by when we're in town, in that town. And they have a nicer home, nicer area. They're quite happy. But it was still a difficult task to pick up and pack up and move at that age because you're a tenant. And the children were greedy and they were not reasonable and fair. In my perspective, if somebody paid my mortgage for 20 years and now they want to buy the property, you have the right to negotiate. And that's what's missing in this real estate market or conversation. Just because I own a home and the market is going for $1 million, I don't have to sell it for $1 million. I can accept whatever offer I want to accept as the owner. If somebody's offering less than what I want, but they're a good family and a good fit for the community, I have the power to choose that person. But everything's about the bottom dollar lately, and that's not always the case. And that also happened with another neighbor, which I'm not going to discuss now because they might see this broadcast. But yeah, I know a family who put in an offer on a home, and they've been in their home for about 15 years now. It's been a while. And he did not put in the highest offer, but the owner liked him and his family and wanted them to get the home because they had a lovely family, young family. It's a good neighborhood, good schools, and they wanted them to benefit from that. And they picked them over the highest offer. That's also part of the power of home ownership and having money. You get to make those kind of decisions. So that homeowner got to pick who was entering this community, who would be a good fit for this community, and he benefited from that. He's been there for a lot of years, a beautiful home. They got it renovated. I got to see the renovations, new tiles, new appliances, like beautiful. They refinanced and pulled up the equity, and that's what people are doing. But when you're not at the table, you can't really say much. So the one person who's been there for 20 years, they can't say anything. They can't because they don't own the home. And that family got to make the final decision and they pushed them out of their home. It was their home. They lived there for 20 years. There was no benefit of the family not selling them the home. They should have, hey, triple threat, they should have sold them the home. So sometimes you need to not be greedy. You need to be kind. $5,000 is not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. If somebody's offering you $5,000 less, but they're a good family, good values, and they're going to add to the community, they're going to be a good neighbor to your old neighbor, you have the power to make those decisions. And some people are just doing some, I call it arms house things, and just like, oh, about the money. The man wanted $1 million something for the house, and the house was only worth, they offered him 8 something. The house sold for less than what the tenant offered him. So not only did you relocate somebody, you got less than they offered you and less than you wanted. What was the point of all of that? But if you're not at the table of home ownership, you don't have the power to make these decisions. You're not even at the table to have these conversations. So this is also part of it. We're not at the table in many of these situations because we don't have anything to leverage. Should I treat tenants bad because they are tenants and they're less than? I'm not saying they're less than. I'm not saying they're not people. I'm just saying in the hierarchy of society, there is a hierarchy. When you're at the table and you have assets and you have ownership, they call you Mr. The bank starts to call you Miss. They start to call you with offers. I had to beg and steal the bank. Beg for credit. Beg. Now, me not beg for nothing. Them come and over. Them offer me things.
They call every day.
Them call me Miss. Are you Miss? I go, you call me Ms. Oh, Ms. Them call me Ms. And them, oh, is this a good time to call you? Oh, okay. And then give me now VIP, what you call it? Account manager. Not the VIP, but them give me account manager now. My friend who's in the VIP have his personal banker. and him can call that man any time of night or day, and things will get done. Me not have the 24-hour. We have the 9 to 5 VIP. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? I'm not saying we're less than. I'm just telling you how this hierarchy works. There is a hierarchy, and if you want to be up the food chain, you have to make certain moves. Number one, if you want to provide generational wealth for your children, home ownership and real estate and land ownership are all part of this discussion.
So,
Definitely.
and what this
Definitely.
destroy? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm driving, so I'm in and out. So, what I noticed that destroy generational wealth, the most is greed.
Yes. Yeah.
Because sometimes you inherit something, but you inherit it with somebody. For instance, I have a house, and I said, okay, half of it on the will go to this son, and half go to the daughter. And this child or this person want his money now, instead of come together, renting out the place and build a bigger business, or scale the business. They get greedy, and once you sell
That's
it, that stops everything.
And you see, you're on point, because the same family that I told you that the parents died and the tenant had to move out, the parents owned both sides of a semi-detached. What you guys call a side-by-side duplex, it was a side-by-side. The parents bought the other side years ago. So they owned both sides. So the doctor wanted to keep the tenants there and keep renting it out because that's cash flow. The brother, no, I want the money. We can sell it for 1 million. We can get 1 million. What happened now? She have to sell because the brother don't want to keep because the two of you are not on the same path. This is the problem.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
she had to sell. I said to them, if your parents own both sides, well, not to them, but if my parents own left and right side and there's two children, then you give me left and you take the right. No appraisal, no nothing. You give me the side with the tenant, I'll deal with that side, and you keep the right side and you sell that side. Let me keep the side. Hey, David Corey. Let me keep the side with the tenant. No, they have to sell both sides because the brother is so ignorant. You see what happens when you have ignorant people in your family? So they have to sell both sides because him they want for this. I would have said, you know what? No appraisal. I don't care if yours is worth more than mine. Take the one that's worth more than mine. Because I know the long game, not the short game, the long game.
Exactly.
They have to sell both sides now. Both sides sold for less than the tenant offered. And what them get out of it? Nothing. They got something, but they got not the $1 million.
Because he want instant gratification. Just sit on it, and today it would be worth way more.
And not even that. Those children have children. So now the grandchildren could inherit a rental property. Do you have to pay capital gains? Of course. But if you have a good financial advisor, they can tell you how to finance that so that the kids don't have to pay for it, or have life insurance policy or some kind of different avenues to make sure that the capital gains are paid for by the grandchildren, on behalf of the grandchildren. Or if you don't have any sense of that, you can say, grandchildren, I have a house for you. I don't have any financial sense. I don't know how to fix the capital gains, but start saving your money. Put aside your money every month. So when I die, you can pay the capital gains. Even if you do that, they're further ahead. But they don't want to have no conversation. They want to say, because for me, I didn't know this information until recently. So I said, okay, if my parents pass away, I'm going to have to pay X, Y, and Z. So I started to put aside the money to pay for it. But now you get more knowledge. You realize, okay, the policy can pay for that. This can pay for that. Okay. And you understand the long game. But I told my parents flat out, don't leave nothing for each of us to share together. You leave one here and one. Don't leave a house to all of us, because it's not going to work. Especially when people have spouses now and their 2 cents comes into the argument. And then, so for me, I said, I'd rather you give me something smaller that's mine alone versus something big that I have to share with the other people.
Yes. And so for me, I worried about that a lot,
Because you have 5 children.
I have 5 children, and all my property, me and my husband are partner. We're one. We buy them together. but we have will. So with
Yeah,
my will, we do it like, okay, if something should happen to me, half is my husband, technically
correct.
everything. But then I do it where this kid can get half. But what I worry about daily, I worry about it daily. Even today. What if I
Yeah.
should pass away? I know those kids, they're 24, 90, blah, blah. They're only thinking about car and whatever. So I know they're going to want to sell and get out. You see what I'm saying?
I see it. So
Even
they're
though I
not in for the
teach them
long
this.
game. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I keep doing these content on my page. And that's where I originally start my page. If anything should happen to me, the kids will go back and hear me or see me, just the
Yeah,
value that
yeah, yeah.
and how hard I work for all these property, and that's why I start my channel most of all,
The
for
person
them to
I
go back
know,
and watch it.
one man I know, he has 3 children, but it's
Hmm.
different. It's with like the same lady, like his wife. So for you, it's blended, so it might be a bit different. But he has 3 children, and he's built houses and equity, and he's bought property, but he's giving each child their own property. There's not going to
Hmm.
be no sharing. The only
Hmm.
sharing may be their primary residence, but
Hmm.
most likely than not, that will be sold to fund the parents' retirement. But he made
Hmm.
sure he worked to give each child their
Their
own
own.
property because the sharing thing
It's a
doesn't
problem.
always
It's a
work
problem.
because
Yeah.
one child may be very, very savvy and the other one drag them down because they don't want to stay in it longer and they want the money now. And then I know I was in a partnership with somebody and they wanted me to buy them out. I couldn't buy them out. I didn't have the money to buy them out. I had to sell, which is
Hmm.
fine. I've moved on from that deal. But exactly, if something happens and you can't buy them out, you have
Exactly.
to sell.
Yeah.
But you know, hey
And
Queen
just crush
Star.
the whole dream right there. I'm working so hard to scale, to build this real estate empire or whatever, and they just one thing happen and everything can just tear down. You're going back
Yeah,
to square
so
one.
my friends here, Queen Shar, she's saying, yeah, she knows firsthand it causes a big rift. It causes a big rift. So,
Yes.
without going into people's business and people's stories, those
Hmm.
of you who have children and you have
Hmm.
whatever number of kids you have to put
Hmm.
it in your mind that you're leaving something for each of them separate.
Exactly.
Don't be
And with
leaving if you
I'm
can,
sorry.
if you can.
Hmm.
Not, but if you can't,
Hmm.
you can only do your best. But if you
Yeah.
can, leave something for each child because once
Exactly.
each child is different and it causes a
Hmm.
rift. And what I'm telling you, when you have the spouses and the wife and the husbands in the conversation, I had to
Hmm.
tell some people to come out the conversation because you're not in this. What do you mean I'm not in this? You're not my blood. I'm blunt. I'm very blunt, as you guys should have learned already by now. You're not my blood. You're not at the table. You're so and my spouse. So sit on the sidelines and keep your mouth quiet because this is a blood relation, a blood conversation. You didn't come from my mother's womb, so only us here should be talking. If you want to talk to your spouse on the side quietly and give tips and make them come back to the table, no problem. But don't be talking at the table and a big argument and blah blah. Because exactly, there's too many voices in this there's too many opinions, and it make the thing just more mix up. So I told my parent, do not leave nothing with no to anybody else, please.
Yeah.
And my parents sat down and they thought about what I said. That's why my parents, I appreciate them because they treated us as adults when we became adults. Not you look a pick with them. When we said something that was sound, they listened to it and they realized, you know what? And when they started to see how people move and their own kids move, they realize, you know what? What she was saying is right. Because they're asking me to now negotiate with a sibling that I don't have to deal with on a regular basis. And now you're forcing me on your passing to now have to deal with them with business and they're not business minded. So better you leave me something for myself alone and leave them there's something alone. Or give
True.
them the cash and give me something because it's just gonna be too, we're of the same family, but not the same mindset.
Yes.
And my parents actually said, you know what? And it was like, wow, you're right. They realized I was right. Because when I had to bury my mom, we had to bury our mom, different personalities, different something. And then it become like, I know mom better than you, and not like that, but I had to pull that card. I've been here. You're not here. So there's certain things that she told me that she wanted and how she wanted it. She told me to make sure I pick her clothes. She didn't tell nobody else that. She tell me certain things because that's how we talked. And other siblings took care of certain things and them know how she wanted certain stuff. But then other people want to come in now and put in their opinion. And I had to put my foot down because I know how she wanted it done. And I'm going to make sure that her request was honored. But I'm telling you, people started, and then how don't talk to me like that because you're too rude. Yeah, I am a bit rude. That's not a lie. That's true. But you know, I'm putting my foot down because I have no choice. So this is a problem with people. Your parents leave you stuff to benefit the family and to leave a legacy, but the legacy gets torn apart because the kids them don't have the same vision. That this is when the claws come out. Yep, the claws come out. Yep. So if you have the choice as a parent and you have a legacy, leave it in a way that they either if you have a big piece of land, chop the land in three. If you have 3 kids, get the land assessed and divide it in 3 equal parcels. Don't leave them the big and let each of them get their little piece and do what they want with it. Don't leave the big thing for the family and the fighting and and without the vision. Property sharing didn't work for my dad and my greedy aunt. Oh, so Cassandra. Yeah. We're talking about legacy, which is important. And real estate is part of that legacy. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Whether it's land or land and house or whatever you want to call it, it's part of it. But if the next generation doesn't understand the importance of the legacy and what you're leaving them and how to keep it in the family and how to the long game, if you haven't taught them that, good luck.
So
Really,
true.
it's in the hands of God. No
And I'm trying to
disrespect.
teach my kids, but at their age, they're just not getting it. At 24, all they want to do is buy a car, and my kids,
Yeah,
they're just not getting it.
no, they're not. So you have to prepare things in a way. I know one lady,
Yes, a
she's
trust maybe.
it's exactly it. You said you beat me to it. A trust.
Mhm.
See, I have stories for everybody because you talk to everybody. One lady
I
been
love it.
dead and gone for at least 15 years. D
Hmm.
Macro, you know what I'm talking about. I don't even know it's maybe 20 years, dead and gone. And she left she left the house for the kids, 3 children.
Hmm.
I think it's 3, maybe 4, no, 4, a lie. 4 children, 2 girls, 2 boys.
Hmm.
And the 3 wanted to keep the home and rent it out. The 4th, he is a Croft. He's a Croft.
Hmm.
Never worked a day in his life. Beggy, been on the system, just a Croft. And he didn't want to do that because that could have been a rental property. It's a 5-level back split. That means you can make 3 units in the one house, 3 independent units and have 3 apartments. He wanted to live there for free. He fighting with them that the mom left him the house. Why would she leave the house to the one child that's a Croft and she have 3 successful children? Did that make sense to you? Then when the will was read, this is the wrong will. This is not the will that she left. She left me at argument, war, discord. Them have to lock him out the house because he wouldn't leave the house willingly. All kind of warfare. The house
Hmm.
was sold and they each took their money when they really wanted to keep the house as a rental income, a cash flow, because the
Yeah.
cash flow, the mortgage was paid. That means they could have each split the rent. So if every month you're getting $3,000 or $4,000 for the whole house, that means each month each child has a secure amount coming into their pocket to spend on their own house and to spend on the grandchildren. No, the mindset, Croft mindset. So now them not have the house. And where him there? Where is the man? Where the Croft? Him still a Croft.
Hmm.
The mother left him a trust fund to give him money every month. So for the last how many years? So you have to know the mother left a lot of money because he's been living off of that money every month for how many years? The money soon dry up now. Maybe this year the money dry up. Does the man have a job? Asset? Other income? No. Croft. Still a Croft. And when you have people like that in your family and your circle, it can bring you down the vision. It can bring down the plan. of
Yeah.
legacy, because them a cruff. And the mother
So
had
true.
enough sense to know not to give him the money in one lump sum.
Mm-hmm.
She knew not to give it to him. She expected my dad to pay the taxes and maintenance while she received the biggest share of income. Oh no, not no Cassandra. No, no, no. Sometimes we see movies how people put conditions in their will that must be completed before receiving their inheritance. There's some wisdom in that too. Yep. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
No, Cassandra, that auntie wicked. Wicked. This problem happened with my grandma's house down in Alabama too. Not no will, but she wanted my dad and uncle to keep the house. My uncle's wife sold the house and went to Paris with what? How did
Mm-hmm.
uncle wife get involved in the conversation? Anyways, me not say no more because I'll get myself in a problem. My like
Okay.
there's wisdom, so you have to move with wisdom. And you gotta teach your kids the long game, the game plan,
Mm-hmm.
and the game plan is not the short gratification. Legacy and generational wealth
Well,
comes with
mm-hmm.
passing down. And if you're selling things, how can you pass? You can't.
Can't pass nothing
Planter
down.
said something very integral. He didn't say that they gained cash, they gained their assets increased in value. He was very particular about using assets and not using the word cash. You cannot pass down cash. You can, but you can't. You know why you can't? Because the cash is always below the current market because of inflation. If you have cash in the bank and you give your child $1 million, 10 years from now, that $1 million is not going to go as far. That's why you cannot um, pass down the cash. Rich people pass down assets because the assets always going to keep up with the inflation and the current market, blah, blah, and blah. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why rich people keep assets in the family. There are certain things that will
Exactly.
never be sold, whether it's artwork, certain stocks, never been sold. They pass the
So
stocks
true.
down to the children. They'd never cash them out. They live
Yep.
on the dividends and the what do you call them? Dividends and whatever you call them, the payouts from the stock. There's terms, but I don't know the term. They pass down assets. I'm going to wind it down because now it's time to enjoy the weekend. They don't pass down cash, and we're not getting it. Like it's right there in plain sight, and we're sitting here arguing about who forget this and who forget that, and I'm right and you're wrong. It doesn't matter. What is the long game? And the rich people understand the long game. There's certain
Long
things that
game.
will never be sold. That's part of their generational wealth. They'll
And
argue
that
about.
is why, I'm
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead. No,
No,
you
I
go ahead.
was saying that is why I tap into my 401k, because the 401k is there, you know, but that's money you can use to accumulate assets. So
Correct.
with me, what I do, I borrow against my 401k to fund my real estate. So a lot of people would say, you have money, why you have so much house? No, I use my 401k, I borrow against it and get real estate. I still have
Correct.
two 401k loans out there,
Yeah.
but
And
I
people,
have the houses.
right. And then here's a negative comment now. Oh, if you can't pay, they're gonna come back and take them away from you. What is this noise over here?
No,
And they're gonna
401k
take
just pay
away
the
the
tax money
house. But guess
for
what?
the
If
house.
they come back for their loan money, you sell one of the houses, right?
Exactly.
People don't
And people
understand that
always need a
concept. You sell
place.
an asset.
You see, people every day look place to rent. If I have a million house, they all rented. People every day call about house. People will always need a place to live. Always, no
Correct.
matter what. No matter what's going on, you need somewhere to live.
And that's what I'm trying to communicate in this long of hour of me talking, or hour and a half. You have more options when you have wealth or assets or money. You have there's power. You have a seat at the table. If they come back for their loan, you're not sitting there, oh my god, they want their loan. You have options. She either sell the house and pay it off completely. She either
So true.
refinance one of the assets and pull the equity to pay off the loan, and she has a higher mortgage, yes, but she still owns the asset. And then you're going to raise your rents anyway, so it's going to pay for itself. And you have write-offs. Oh, I don't have any write-offs. The government, that's a lie. Maybe you need a better accountant. hire a better accountant who knows tax laws. You need a tax specialist. When you get to a certain level, you need a tax specialist to go through and figure out what you're entitled to. Because people in the last chat, oh, I didn't get no, that didn't help me. I didn't get no write-offs, blah, 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 and blah. That may be true. I'm not saying it's not true, but maybe you're not really getting what you should because you're not using the right person. You're not informed about taxation laws, and maybe you're not disclosing enough to your accountant so they know what they can write off. My new accountant that Shar referred me to, fantastic person, he asked me so many questions. And he said to me, because he could tell I'm like, this man's so damn nosy because he knows my culture. He said, I'm not being nosy. I'm asking you a lot of questions because the more that I know, the more I can help you. And unless I ask and find out, what you're doing with your money, how this, how that, how you live your life from day to day, that helps me determine what you're qualified for and what things you're entitled to. So some people don't want to talk, and I understand why. You're very private, but you need to have the right team around you, and those are the people that you talk to because the specialists can find out what taxes you shouldn't be paying, what tax breaks you should be getting, what write-offs you can, what things you can carry over from 10 years ago. The man said, you can carry that over. I said, what? He goes, yes, you can carry some of those things over that you didn't claim in the past. Let's claim them now and roll them over. All kind of tips the man giving you, but you have to talk and tell them your business. And he has to be qualified, not the man in the garage under the alleyway doing in the back of his trunk doing the taxes. If you're a landlord and you're running a business, which is kind of a business, you need to be doing taxes for a business, not your personal taxes. You need someone who can do both personal taxes and your business taxes and can know how to put things on either category because he knows you and how you're doing things. You need to sometimes buy properties in your personal name, sometimes in your business name. There's benefits and pros and cons to both. The whole point is when people tell you stuff, don't say, oh, that you don't know what you're talking about. You're talking foolishness. It's not foolishness. Everybody has slightly different circumstances and different things. Basically, the assets act as a line of credit. In some cases, yes, exactly. You can use your asset they give you a home equity line of credit. They'll give you this and that. But you can start to use other people's money as well. Though you can use the asset as collateral. Make sure you don't lose it though, but this is what I'm talking about. So some of you now are starting from scratch because your grandparents and your parents, they, the squabbling amongst them, there's no longer generational wealth. The property's been sold, and now you're starting from scratch because you didn't inherit your grandparents. And now your parents' land or their house may be inherited. But if you're sharing it with siblings, the same problem could occur. So you need to have something in place where you're leaving some things to your children independently and you're teaching them the importance of the legacy and generational wealth. Because until we get these lessons and start implementing it, we're going to be talking about the same thing again 20 years from now. You're going to have YouTubers talking about the same thing. Because when we have money and we have wealth, we have more options. And the people that we're seeing in different states who are having poverty, no water, tainted water, all the different issues, in the communities. When you have assets and money, you have more options. You have an option to relocate for 6 months. Most people are working remotely. All you need is good internet. You don't have to have an office space. You can work with good internet from anywhere. You can relocate for 6 months until the things are fixed and go back to your other property. People own properties in multiple states. Don't think you have to buy in where you live. People are telling you, Lashes is giving you good information. She's giving you videos. Call the Bank of America that has this program that's in Detroit. It's in Los Angeles. They name them in the video. Find out if you qualify. Find out if you don't live in those cities, can you still qualify? Ask questions. I don't have the answers. I don't know. But there is a program available that offers no money down,
Yes, no
and no minimum credit
closing
score.
costs.
The
Yep.
only thing that they ask, from what I read in the information, they ask that you have to qualify what we call CMHC, some housing insurance, something in the States. You have to qualify with them so that you're affordable. I don't know what the word is, but the point is, do your own research. Go call the Bank of America to go find out who can qualify, if your kids can benefit from it, and go live in one of these cities to benefit from and go benefit from it. You have to pay your mortgage. You have to pay your bills. They're asking for a history of on-time payment for your rent and utilities and other bills. But if you have to have a no minimum credit score, now's the time. So for those of you, that's it. I think it's NACA. We call it CM. They ask, you have to be qualified with them, because they said last time they had a program, people didn't have good, I don't know, something happened. Do your homework, guys. This is the point. If you can qualify for that program, and that qualifies you to buy a second property, not a first property, somehow it can work for you. You go find out. Do not just sit down and go and do your homework. Call and wait on hold for an hour, 2 hours. Go to the bank, make an appointment with somebody in person. If you're in person, and you go make an appointment with the bank clerk or the whatever person, teller, or whatever they call them, people, financial advisor, the manager, whomever, and you go sit down with a list of questions, and you go find out how you can benefit. If you used to live in that city, can you qualify? Whatever small details, figure it out. If you have to relocate for 6 months to qualify for that program, and you got kids that are living off of you, you go send them over there for 6 months and go figure it out. There are people are doing things to qualify for these programs, is what I'm saying. Get in with the program. No, that is in itself a blessing, because most things require a large deposit. Credit score, no minimum credit score. Most people are not buying because they don't have good credit. Now is the time. All of you who are on the live, and who were on the live and who are going to watch the replay, and you have family that can benefit, and they're in some of those cities that they mentioned in the news article, get on it. Stop holding back. Nothing is easy. Nothing is going to be smooth. Always have a slush fund, extra cash for surprise repairs and surprise things, but get on it. Get on it. Some of the reasons why people cannot afford is because of the credit. I think she's doing voice to text talking Psalms. I don't think Gina's texting and driving, or unless she's pulled over at the plaza by Sam's Club. It's probably Sam's Club today, right, Gina? I'm going to close it off. Have an excellent Labor Day weekend. Labor Day, funny.
Bye.
Yes. Where you going, Lashes? Where you going? Never mind. On the road.
My husband ordered a massage for me at 10 o'clock. I didn't even remember. Just now he wake up and I was on your live on the computer. He said, "You forget the massage I ordered for you." I'm like, "Oh, sure." He
That's
always
so
try to order stuff like that. I'm
sweet.
like, I don't like stuff like that.
That is so
He's been wanting to
sweet.
do it
What a
all the time. I'm
lovely
like,
man.
I don't want to go through no massage.
Well, you
So I'm
better go.
going.
You're
No
going to
baby,
enjoy
no
it.
nothing.
That's
Yeah.
lovely. But guys, do your homework. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a medical. Anything that I said today that requires you go do your homework. Talk to the professionals. Get your advice. If somebody doesn't treat you the way that you want them to, don't let that deter you. I've let that deter me sometimes, where the people that were rude, and just, you go with your questions. Don't let nobody's behavior deter you. You get your answers, and you start to find a way to get in these programs. Please get into these programs. Even if you're already a homeowner, it's that important. Home and land ownership are very important for
Yeah.
wealth building. Please, please take this seriously. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Monday time off. Get your manicure, pedicure, and your massages, like lashes. Treat yourself, enjoy yourself, pamper yourself. Have a
Thank
lovely
you.
meal with your family and friends, and take this sound information. Don't worry about the messenger. Worry about the message. Do your homework. God bless you guys. Peace and blessings to all. Enjoy your weekend. I'll be back, God willing, next weekend. I may do a pop-up in the week. I'll think about it, but have a great weekend, guys. Thank you for the support with the channel. Thank you for subscribing. Please subscribe. Like the video if you haven't liked it already. Thank you for those who are buying me a coffee. Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to get to 500. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. But your homework for this weekend, guys, call Bank of America. Make an appointment. It's not for this weekend. Make the appointment for in the week so that you can start getting that going. It's that important. And don't let nobody tell you no negative stuff. Well, they can tell you whatever they want to. Don't listen to them. Okay? Thank you. Peace out.